Hybrid working isn't new anymore, but keeping hybrid teams secure is still one of the biggest challenges that businesses face. Because let's face it, you've got people logging in from home, airports, co-working spaces, all of which are potential attack surfaces. Now, Nord Layer solves that. It ensures that every connection to your network is authenticated, encrypted, and monitored. And best of all, it's platform agnostic. So whether your team is on Windows, Mac OS, or even Linux, it just works. So why not take a few minutes to future-proof your setup with Nord Layer? Head to nordlayer.com/techtalksdaily. Use the code techtalksdaily-28 and you'll even get 28% off your yearly plan as part of a new special offer. But enough from me. Let's get today's guest on right now. What happens when AI begins rewriting the rules for the next generation of developers? Especially when, for years, a computer science degree was almost seen as the golden ticket into a secure, high-paying tech career. But in 2025, the reality is a little bit more complicated. We have AI tools automating routine coding tasks. Junior developers are finding that the skill set employers want is shifting from syntax to strategy. And in today's episode, I sat down with Hans de Visser, Chief Product Officer at Mendix. And together we discussed how AI is reshaping the developer career path and what it really takes to stay relevant in an era where critical thinking has almost become the new currency. So whether you are a student worried about your first job or a hiring manager rethinking how to build resilient teams, the conversation today will help you see the shift not as a threat, but as an invitation to evolve and improve. So where should the next wave of developers be focusing their energy as AI continues to accelerate? Let's find out as I introduce you to my guest. So a massive warm welcome back to the show. It's been some time since you last sat down with me, so can you remind everyone listening with a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Neil, great meeting you again. My name is Hans de Visser, and I'm the Chief Product Officer at Mendix, a Siemens business specialized in software development using low-code principles, but also nowadays turning towards the world of AI and Gen AI as we apply in our platform for developers, but also to build what we call agentic applications.
And there's so much I want to talk with you about today because so much has changed. We've got AI is absolutely everywhere. There's a lot of concern, especially for younger people that might be listening, because they're in education now. They might be training for jobs that don't actually exist yet. And some of the existing entry-level roles are disappearing. So how would you describe the current reality for new tech graduates that are entering the job market now? And what's changed most from a few years ago when we last spoke?
Yeah, a very good question. Actually, what we are seeing, and that's also a substitute, or how to say that, there's evidence from market research behind that, is that the job market for graduates is getting tougher these days, particularly the last few years after the breakthrough of Gen AI. We're seeing that younger graduates and also people in early in their careers are finding it more difficult to find jobs. There's research from Stanford University, for example, from Eric Brynjolfsson, who is reporting that there's a 13% decline in job openings and also job offers for younger career people. And that has a direct connotation with the breakthrough of AI and Gen AI. So we are seeing that the market is getting tougher. And I think it's because of the fact that in some of the junior jobs, you're kind of leaning on codified knowledge, and particularly that codified knowledge is being supplemented with what LLMs can do these days. So there is basically a challenge for younger people to get into jobs because of these jobs are partially being taken away, or at least companies are looking at what are we doing with Gen AI before they start hiring people again.
And I think what hurts most here is several years ago, I think many young developers, they would have been promised or sold a dream that that computer science degree, if they go after that course, that would guarantee them a high paying role. So why is that no longer the case?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure if it's not longer the case, but it's
Yeah.
definitely more difficult to get into tech positions. And by the way, if you are uh, doing a computer science graduation program right now, don't get into this because there's definitely a lot of demand for developers, but the type of developers and the skills that people are required to have, even if they enter the job, are I would say changing quite dramatically. And yeah, so when it comes to that belief, like I get a high paid job if I graduate, only if you are literally literate about AI and can apply AI, I would say from day one in your job, even if you have a junior role.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And if you are a person listening to this, we must clear that up. This is not doom and gloom. We are going to talk about many opportunities that are out there. And from your work that you're doing, what are the biggest gaps you've seen between what maybe universities are teaching and the kind of skills that you're teaching at Mendix that expect from new hires? Is there a gap there?
Yeah, so although I also have to say that universities are quickly closing in on that gap, so
Yeah.
I don't think there's any curriculum anymore where AI doesn't play a big role. But let me tell you how we are evaluating candidates, and that can say something about how we are also looking at candidates, and you can relate yourself like when I fit the or meet the test, yes or no. If we have job openings for software engineers, typically we do coding exercises to test whether someone is up to the mark when it comes to literacy on coding and also applying particular techniques, so to say, for building and maintaining code. And a few years back, it was just the exercise where people would literally hand in some code, and we would have an interview about that particular code, and then test someone on the capability to explain what he or she has done, why he or she has approached it in that way, etc. And these days, we are seeing many candidates coming in with at least partially generated code. And then the big test for us these days is can people explain why they have used AI for generating part of the code? And if they would make a change, what impact would it have? Now, there's actually three categories of candidates that we are seeing. First, people that are not talking about AI at all, and they're not even considering AI for their coding exercise. And these people kind of fall off right away because we don't want to hire people who are basically back in the old days. We do want to have people that are completely AI literate, so to say. But then there's another category of people that are not really understanding what's going on behind the scenes. So they can hand in something that may look reasonably sophisticated, but if you ask three more questions about how the code is structured and why they made certain choices, they fall through the cracks. And it turns out that they are just relying on AI solely. And cannot explain why things are going on behind the scenes like is going on. And these candidates we are discarding right away because that's not the type of people that we are after. And then the last category are the ones that can perfectly um, explain like what is generated by AI, why they were using it, and what would be the impact of any changes that they would make, and how to handle that. And that's the type of candidates that we are looking for. So critical thinkers that just see AI as a mean to help them rather than replace them. And that's, I think, is a very essential trait that we're looking for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100% with you. And I think many graduates they'll be coming straight out of university and they've got all the foundations that they need. But with AI, automation, low code tools, even vibe coding entering the conversation as well, and everything advancing so quickly, when they've secured that foundation of learning there, what new capability should those graduates be focusing on?
Yeah, I would say that hardcore engineering skills do still matter 100%. So I see AI as a way to augment it and to become more productive, not to replace people. I think it's gonna be taking a long time before that actually takes place. There's actually a very interesting perspective from Andrei Karpathy, one of the most renowned and reputable, engineers and architects out there. And he was on a podcast a few days back and made a statement like, before we are seeing agents becoming productive, it will take actually a decade because they lack fundamental capabilities. And I think that that's something that people have to realize. So the fundamentals of software engineering haven't changed. There's only help that we get by large language models and all sorts of agents that are out there to make you more productive. And making that kind of balanced approach of skills that you master, and you only start to master skills by doing something repeatedly, and also put 6,000, 10,000 hours in it, and applying the right techniques that are up and coming for getting you even more productive with the help of AI, is something that matters. And there's no kind of clear recipe for that, like do this or do that.
Yeah.
But really make sure that you're completely on top of what's happening in AI in the coding world, and also in the low code world, by the way. But still make sure that you master the basics of software engineering and software development.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And I think that balanced approach, and also that realization of much of what we read about on our news feeds around agents is hyped up, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And
Yeah.
there's also a lot of great tools out there. So how can things like low code and AI assisted development, how can that help maybe level the playing field for junior developers that are listening, struggling to find traditional software roles? Because there is a lot of opportunities here by leveraging these tools, right?
Yeah, 100%. So our philosophy is that Gen AI will fundamentally change how we build software, and also what software is. And we break it down into these two components. So if I start to zoom in on the how, also in our platform, we're seeing a lot of benefit in applying Gen AI services throughout the software development lifecycle. And it starts at the very beginning, particularly for product owners and also people that are coming with less of a technical background but are more citizen developers. If we can start to build from a plan, so describe your requirements, and then have AI support you in building a plan, like a breakdown of your requirements into certain parts or elements of scope. Identify the roles, identify the data, identify the user interface, and also potentially the workflows, and being able to judge whether that is meeting indeed the ideas that you have, and then turn it into, for example, a working prototype helped by AI services that are generating in our platform the so-called model artifacts, because we apply a visual modeling paradigm to software development. Then you're actually fundamentally changing how software gets built. So there's always been a kind of shift left attempt. We saw that in the testing days, for example, with the test automation. So rather than testing at the end, you start to test it at day one if you're building your code or building your models. And we're also now seeing more of a shift left towards product owners becoming even more important in defining what they actually want. Because the generation part can be automated to an extent, not completely, but at least a fair percentage of your initial prototype, for example, could be spun up, and that's what we're also seeing with vibe coding tools. So that's one aspect, and applying that throughout the whole software development lifecycle is absolutely something that will boost productivity even further. And then the other part is, what software is. And we're going from a world where software has been completely deterministic. So you express, your logic in code, and it will always behave exactly the same way as it would do yesterday, for example, towards more agentic systems where the deterministic code is supplemented with the work that agents perform. And I, in simple terms, always compare agents to alternatives to human beings. Like if a human being performs a task, it's not always executed in the exact same manner as the human being would do, because we're all fall to making errors, etc., etc. And that's exactly what you're seeing in the agents world as well. There's actually evidence that around 20% of the tasks that agents are performing are not right. So that means that you're also having to kind of course correct agents and have supervised human beings or supervisors from by human beings to observe what's happening and also make changes, so to say, if you see that the agent is going off on a tangent. And applying that type of patterns is something that is a skill that is very much in demand. So if I could give an advice to youngsters trying to get into this world, so to say, make sure that you understand how deterministic and probabilistic approaches to software development can coexist, and also what to do to make these systems work seamlessly for end users and also to get to certain business outcomes.
And I have spoken to you before, and I know that you're incredibly passionate about lifelong learning, continuous learning, being almost a baseline for success in a tech career. So I've got to ask, right here in 2025, what does that look like in practice? How can young professionals listening build a sustainable career mindset around that continuous learning mindset there?
Yeah, the very good question. I think always be on the lookout for new things and actively try that, test it, and apply it. And not everything that you will learn will stick around, but there are things that will basically become mainstream. And having a very open mind and being eager to learn and to constantly kind of upskill your expertise is something that is absolutely critical. And certainly with the breakthrough of Gen AI, it is such a massive impact on the market and also on software development. It's, I would say, beyond belief. You need to be constantly on your toes, so to say, to stay current with the latest developments. And what was basically something that was the end all be all yesterday may not be the end all be all today, but the foundations are remaining the same. So that's the good news. But the way how it's applied and the techniques that are being developed, so to say, are greatly impacting the way how software gets built.
And for people listening who maybe have spent a little too long doom scrolling down their news feeds, maybe feeling a little downhearted about the perceived decline in junior developer positions, etc., any advice that you'd give to graduates who might be feeling shut out of the market and just unsure where to start or what they should do? Because again, I really want to hammer home the point here. It's not all doom and gloom. There was a lot of opportunities to be grabbed here.
Absolutely right. And I think there's probably great analogies to be made with every single major innovation that we've seen in the history of mankind. There were always predictions like, if this happens, then people will be massively out of jobs, etc. But the reality is that the type of jobs changed fundamentally. But there's always been demand for people that are smart and that are willing to work, etc., etc. So I'm not at all on the dooms side of things. So, and honestly, I also think that in the hype that is currently going on around Gen AI, indeed, employers may think like, okay, I need to sort this out first and do see what for example, Gen AI has as an impact on my coding teams, or can I apply vibe coding at scale, etc. But we're also seeing the first signs of that trends losing steam because of the fact, for example, that for enterprise grade use, there is too much compromises that people are making on security, on governance, etc., etc. And there's a very simple rule. Agents won't go to jail, but if you're not applying it right, human beings will. And there's always a need for human oversight and course correcting, so to say. And I wouldn't be too scared about not being able to get a job.
And we are entering that magical time of the year where we're starting to think about our goals and what we want to achieve in the following year. Something quite magical always happens around that time. So if we were to look ahead, do you see the rise of Gen AI and platforms like Mendix? How do you see them creating new kinds of entry level opportunities for people listening that just want to learn differently and are really eager and passionate about getting involved here?
Yeah, so one thing to consider is if the role of software engineers are changing, and it's becoming more about the what versus the how. Do make sure that you are completely understanding, what business demand is about, and working closely with representatives from the business who are, doing day jobs and would like to optimize the way they work. And that combination, that's also one of the things that we try to establish in our platform. So bring people with more technical expertise and business expertise together to collaboratively build solutions that make impact for the organization that you work for. And that is something that I think is a skill that will hardly be replaced by AI, because it needs tacit knowledge. You need idiosyncrasy, so to say, for learning the tips and tricks to apply a common sense to the combination of business and IT. And that's a skill set that I'm not seeing being replaced by AI at all.
And in our conversation today, I'm very conscious it's all been about you sharing your expertise, you helping the next generation of developers. But I'd love to take you back in time for a moment here and find out a little bit more about who helped you in your career, because none of us are able to achieve any degree of success without a little help along the way. Very often, somebody sees something in us, they invest a bit of time in us and play a huge part in our role. And very often, they're blissfully unaware of that. So, is there a particular person that you're grateful towards who helped you get you where you are today that maybe we can give a shout out to today? Who would that be?
Yeah, 100%. And there's actually multiple people that were coming on my path who have greatly helped me to progress in my career. But there's one person I'd like to recognize for this, and that's the co-founder of Mendix, a guy called Roald Kruid. He's no longer with the company, so if he hears this, he will probably giggle. But he is a very, very profound computer scientist. So he graduated cum laude, and then when he did his first project, he built something that was technically completely correct, but he misunderstood, what their business requirements were behind, the question from the end user. And that made him realize, like, I miss a complete angle in my approach to IT. And that's a profound understanding and bringing people from business and IT together. And that actually gave birth to this idea of low-code development with abstraction and automation, so that people can focus on the functional aspects of building applications. And I've worked a lot with Roald in my first years at Mendix. I'm in my 11th year right now, so until I would say 2020, and for 6 years on a row, I was almost in daily conversations with him, figuring out, like, how are we further shaping the platform, what bets are we placing, etc. And he is a brilliant, brilliant mind that helped shape the market. And I'd like to recognize him for that, and also thank him for all of the great collaboration that we had throughout the years. And we're basically building on the foundation that he established with his other co-founders, now being part of Siemens.
Well, I genuinely hope he gets to hear this story and has a little giggle now and a little remember some of the times that you worked together. And I think
Yeah,
more than
100%.
yeah, and more than anything, I think just understanding the scale of the impact he's had on you and your career, because he's probably far too humble to think about things like that. And for anybody listening wanting to learn more about Mendix, the low-code platform, how you turn ideas into outcomes and the work that you do, where should they go if they want to find out more information?
Yeah, first of all, so on general, I would say just check out our website. But if you're more interested in getting your hands dirty, so to say, with the platform, just sign up and try it out. There is a free edition that we have where you can basically get access to, I would say, 99% of the capabilities of the platform without paying any dollar. So test it, try it out, give feedback. And if you would like to reach out to me personally, just find me on my LinkedIn handle.
Awesome. Well, I'll add links to everything. Make that nice and easy for people to find it. And I do encourage anyone listening to reach out to you, because I think we've covered so many big talking points today and a lot of concerns that junior developers might have. So it's great to deliver a bit of much needed optimism right now. And there is there's so many opportunities in this. So just thank you for shining a light on this.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. Always great talking to you, and looking forward to the next occasion. And thanks for having me on your podcast.
I think, as we heard today, the AI revolution, it isn't killing the opportunity for developers, especially junior developers, changing what those opportunities look like. And Hans reminded us that while generative and agentic AI can automate code, they cannot replace curiosity, collaboration, or the uniquely human ability to understand business context. And some of the most successful developers of the next decade will be those who treat AI as more of a partner than a shortcut. But if you'd like to put some of Hans' ideas into practice, you can explore the Mendix platform yourself through their free edition and connect with Hans on LinkedIn to continue the conversation. But what do you think? Is AI creating a new class of developer, or simply forcing us all to level up our skills? Love to hear your thoughts on this. Join the discussion. Let me know where you see the biggest opportunities ahead. techtalksnetwork.com. You'll find everything that you need there. But I'm afraid it's time for me to go now. I've got a bit of man flu this week, so I'm going to rest and drink some hot honey or whatever it is you do to rest those vocal cords, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Bye for now.